Like, you did way more than I think some people with a big budget would have been able to do.
Well, we're asking around always, like, who wants to jump from the TV tower? And there is always a crazy guy that said, I would do it. I said, you know.
You had a way bigger cast with Jesus movie, way so than, than Crumbs. And so I'm pretty sure that had a lot to do with it as well, because it's just a bigger film, a lot more pieces, moving parts, people to deal with.
Yeah.
As opposed to Crumbs, where you only had a very small, you had two people as the main cast, and you had a few other people, but it was just a smaller film in terms of people to deal with. So that probably made a little bit of a difference with that. Were you, in that regard, were you able to stay close to budget for one or the other? Like, which one was a little bit more challenging budget-wise?
Actually, in both, we manage the budget very well. I don't have problems because I always find solutions, right? If we cannot we cannot shoot here. So all difficulties become for me creative solutions. I cannot stop, my mind cannot stop until I find the way to. So for instance, I give you an example. In Jesus, we had a final scene where we have many tanks.
Mm-hmm.
Tanks. And finally, one of the tanks crosses the TV, Gargano television, right? The TV where Agent Gargano is. And so we try to get all these tanks through the military, to the army here in Estonia. And finally they say, guys, we are not going to give you the tanks, right? I mean, it's like, I wanted like 10 tanks, right, for this film. So, okay, send me the screenplay. And so, what the is this,
Exactly.
The tanks. So it's like, okay, well, we don't have tanks. So what can we do? And then we came with the idea that somebody jumps from the TV tower, which is quite cheaper, right? So somebody throws the television through the TV tower. And somebody jumps and picks it in the middle of the air and opens this parachute. So actually, if you have to pay for 10 tanks, or you have to pay for somebody jumping from a TV tower, it's cheaper, the TV tower.
Oh, wow.
But it's great. It's spectacular as well. It's very incredible.
Yeah. You actually answered my next question, because I was going to ask you, how did you shoot that? Because I was looking at it like, wow, this is so aggressive. Like, to see all of these different shots under this great budget. I'm like, you did way more than I think some people with a big budget would have been able to do.
Well, we're asking around always, like, who wants to jump from the TV tower? And there is always a crazy guy that said, I would do it. I said, we don't have many big budget. He said, I like to do it. I like to jump from towers. He said, okay. But then we do an insurance, but this maybe, I don't know, that insurance was quite expensive, but not crazy expensive. I don't know, $300 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so but okay, you're going to spend $300, but somebody's going to jump from the TV tower. So it's not so bad.
You had such an easy experience compared to how things are done in the States, and even I would think even like in London or certain countries where, oh, you need this, oh, you need that. I mean, I just think, it just made it easier for you to be able to do, and having the locals and the community, involved with helping and just being so supportive. How many times do they get a chance to see anybody shoot in Ethiopia? You know what I mean? I think you were the very first, Crumbs was the first sci-fi film shot in Ethiopia, correct?
I cannot say, because there is always
maybe some
history of film is so big that then some people will say, no, it was mine. So I don't want to say maybe, but
I think I would like to say possibly there's a high suspicion that Crumbs was definitely the first one, and Jesus now the second one. I mean, either way, they don't see many films shot in Ethiopia, and science fiction is even more rare. So I think that got them really excited to be able to say that they're a part of something that's shot in their country, in their hometown as well. So I think that was pretty cool. So what are some of your influences of filmmaking? Because you have a very unique and eclectic and a great mind when it comes to filmmaking. What were some of your influences?
Well, I collect everything actually. But the surrealists are a very big. There are two very big influences, right? The surrealists like Buñuel, and I will say the neorealism because of this tragic comedy that I mentioned. No, these characters from the Marco Ferreri films, Berlanga in Spain, Pasolini, Fellini, Rossellini, the first neorealist films, because yes, they have these characters which are, how can I say, are poor. They are anti-heroes. They are normal working people, right? And they try to survive, and they are not super big heroes. So I empathize very much with this kind of. And then, of course, for instance, I like very much the films that have been made in Africa. I like very much Mustafa Alassane, who was a friend of Jan Rouch. Jan Rouch was a French filmmaker who filmed in Niger.
Gotcha.
In Niger a lot, and he was filming from the perspective of kind of a philosophy of friendship, like I do. You know, he was in Niger. Actually, he was an engineer, but he had the camera for his engineering projects, you know? But then he started collecting friends, and they were doing Amadou Ganda, Mustafa Alassane, and they started doing films like Jan, let's do another film. So
nice.
And they were creating their own characters, and for instance, Mustafa Alassane was one of his friends, and he made an incredible film called The Return of the Adventurer, which was a cowboy film in the 60s in Niger, you know, with all these punches in the inside
Action
the bars and taverns and you know, and duels and suits, but the difference was that the cowboys were kind of riding the horses among giraffes. So it was a very subversive cowboy film.
Yeah,
right?
now I can see.
You know, like black cowboys, like shooting giraffes. I mean, not shooting giraffes, but shooting among the giraffes. So I like all this freedom, Tuki Buki, the surreal film. And of course now I love Ugandan films, Hollywood films from Uganda, and also they recycle. They really recycle all the Hollywoods, Schwarzenegger, Bud Spencer, and they do something hilarious. And so yes, basically, I'm from the United States, but I like many things. Many experimental filmmakers. I like very much Sun Ra. Have you seen the Sun Ra film?
Yes, and it's funny because one of the other film festival goers did mention Sun Ra, so they saw that influence probably there already, watching it clearly, and so and that was one of the words, or the films rather, that I tend to use in describing, you know, if you're fans of this, you know, then you'll like that, you know, so yeah.
I think it was probably made at the same time that the Spike Lee made Do the Right Thing, very this 70s film. So, but I love all these films actually. I like them. Some exploitation films, some Shaft. All this, I don't know. I'm very fan of this exaggeration from the 70s.
Yeah, and we see it in your work. That's why, you know, I had to ask, because I can see clearly that, you know, some of the influences that probably went into making Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway. But then science fiction is a genre that I know in the States was only in the last 20 years or so it's become, you know, mainstream. Years ago, we've had like maybe 1 or 2 science fiction films a year, maybe 1 or 2 shows, you know, on television. You know, Star Trek has been around for ages, so you had the one show, and then, you know, but clearly it has blown up. It's really part of our culture now, way more than it has been, which I'm extremely ecstatic about. But what is it like, for other countries? Because, we're a multicultural sci-fi organization, right? So one of the goals that I wanted to do whenever I first started this organization was to shine a light on science fiction films coming from overseas, because we were in a sci-fi bubble and that we only saw films from the States. We didn't get a lot of foreign science fiction films, stories told, not only in different languages, but with other cultures infused in it and in other countries. And so, obviously I've been a huge supporter and proponent of your films because they do exactly that. They are what I'm looking for. Science fiction told from different perspectives in different places with different types of actors, people from different cultures and backgrounds. Are there a lot of science, when you were in Ethiopia, were there a lot of people who were into science fiction there?
No, actually, there is no many people.
Yeah.
And yes, I like to gather friends, basically. So I don't give a shit where they are. I
Mm-hmm.
forget the nationalities and sometimes the
Nice.
background. People is people everywhere. So, and this is something that learned when I went to Ethiopia, like trying to discover, okay, a fascinating country, but at the same time, when I arrived, it's like when everybody, because we try always to frame the other somehow, to say like the Ethiopians are like this, or the Estonians or the Spanish. And when I arrived there, I found, but there are assholes, they are nice, there are cool people, there are punks,
Right.
they are
A mixed
and so I
bag.
made
Mm-hmm.
friends,
Mm-hmm.
so that's my approach. We live in a globalized society, and I see the person, I see people with my same interest, like you, Amanda, like you. We are into this crazy world of sci-fi, like
Yeah.
philosophical ideas and everything. So, I forget. We're so, okay. We talk in English because this is nowadays the language that connects
Right. The
us.
universal one. Yep.
Maybe in the future, everybody talks in their own language, and there is an automatic translator that
Yeah. Yeah.
universal.
Some sort of mental chip we have in our head that can translate everything, and then, or just learn
Oh,
people's languages. I think that's the
yeah.
mental chip.
So yes, I believe that we have, through this friendship, to build something together like that is never seen. No? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I try to do with my films, not to be anchored in any tradition. When the people say like, you make films in Ethiopia, you respect Ethiopian traditions, or you respect Estonian traditions, or this or that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care very much about the traditions,
Right.
actually.
Right.
I go there, and with my friends, we try to build something new
Mm-hmm.
and reflect and do something different and create something
Mm-hmm.
all together. And this is, of course, everybody has a different background, and this is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But we look ahead and try to do something.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully, people have gotten who've seen your film or whatever will be inspired by what you've done in science fiction, and they'll create their own films with their own traditions and cultures and stuff infused in it, and and that may inspire people to do, a lot more films, with whatever they want, in it.
Actually, this is one of my main goals, is give inspiration. Maybe you don't understand a shit, or maybe it's blurry or whatever, but if you
Mm-hmm.
go home and you start doing your project or your music band or your drawings or whatever, and create something beautiful, it doesn't have to be the best thing in the world,
Right.
or you have to, but something for you or for your friends or for your community.
Mm-hmm.
That's better than being kind of fighting and shouting. Is better to create. Fighting and shouting sometimes is very good because it needs to be done,
Right.
and you have to say sometimes no, and enough is enough. But at the same time, I think in this creativity, that this inspiration creates something together, positive, something, even if it's for criticizing, but something powerful and
Mm-hmm.
positive altogether. So this is what I dream when I make a film, that somebody's gonna do her own films as well, or something.
Exactly. Exactly. I have one important final question for you. We are, we meaning, you know, the film festival organizer and everybody who does the festival every year, we want to do something a little bit more meaningful with this whole COVID thing. I myself personally have thought a lot about our future and what that looks like. Everyone is very pessimistic when it comes to our future and where things are going. A lot of people don't know what's going to happen. We're taking it day by day. But for the first time in a long time, most of us are living in the moment, right? So I myself am a huge planner. I'm always planning. And so my mind is always in the future. My mind's always like in next year's festival. Oh, I'm trying to plan something for next year. What is that going to look like? So we have an opportunity to now stop and slow down and kind of think of where we are now, think about where we see ourselves in the future. We're looking to encourage filmmakers to create narratives that challenge us on what we see in our future, so that it's not all post-apocalyptic and dystopian. And that's what we're going to do with this Life After COVID film challenge, to ask writers to first, you know, can we even conceive and perceive of a future that is favorable? We'll always have challenges and things like that, but it doesn't all have to end in something, you know, where it's all dire and death. And so I ask you, you know, have you thought about how this experience with this pandemic may affect your work and what you may be planning to create next? Like, have you ever already started thinking about what stories are coming to you that may come out of this pandemic?
Well, yes, pandemic has been a disaster also for me, because I'm a teacher at I teach film in the
Oh, nice.
university, in the film school, besides doing my film. So, and I had to teach through this to Zoom, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah,
Because
yes.
nothing can, I mean, when I am with my students, it's wonderful, no, in the class, and we talk, and so yeah, it was a disaster. And now in Estonia, the impact is slower now. The measures were taken very early on, and
Good.
the social distancing, and also precautions, and some rules. The rules were not strict because the countries, I mean, there is a lot of space. It's not like a very packed city. But they were fast, and they took the right measures at the right time. So now we don't have almost any COVID here.
Nice.
And I hope, but it can come. Of course, it can come back. So we have to try to survive this year, and then I hope I can shoot a film next summer. But let's cross our fingers for the vaccine. But at the same time, if not, I don't know. We will find a solution, right? Because the human being always finds a way of being happy and trying to solve the problems that we have. But if we do it together, right?
Exactly. Have you been writing though? Have any stories come to you at all?
Yes, I've been writing. I start before the corona, and then suddenly I have 2 months with all the time in the world to write, which was a little bit.
I'm sure you had the opportunity to dig out things like, you know, you may have had the opportunity to now dig back in the crate, or it's somewhere you might have had a story that you haven't touched in 10 years or something. Now you have all the time in the world to work on it.
I think I start with a screenplay that I've been writing forever that never get financed. It's like the typical screenplay that will never get financed. I don't know, maybe so bad, but I keep writing it for 10 years or 12. So I start with that. Then I realized that I'm not going anywhere again with that. And then I wrote a new one that also I was working on, and I have a first draft. So hopefully next summer I can be shooting. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a science fiction film, but unfortunately it's not anymore in Ethiopia, because the financiers are from here, from Estonia, and it's like a little bit more local story, although it has a universal perspective, but it happens here in Estonia. So let's see.
Will you stay in science fiction? Is that a genre that you feel is for you, easier for you to stay in or write in? Is that your favorite genre to write in?
Well, I since I study philosophy, it's a genre that allows me to put a lot of philosophical ideas on political, sometimes philosophical, about the person, about the fate, about the future, about what do we have to decide, the big problems. I'm also an exaggerated person, so I like to exaggerate the problems of the world and take an idea farther and further. So I think science fiction is kind of the perfect environment, right? So never take science fiction seriously, but at the same time take it very seriously, because I mean, nothing what we said is true, but it's just the seed of what it can be, right? But the seed is a seed; it can be killed. It's not the plant yet. So.
Right. Exactly. Wow. Well, like I said, you really are an extremely talented director. You're on the right path. This is only your second major feature-length, film, and you're making headway at a very, very, young age, or just at a young time with your work. So I wish you all the best. I know we're going to see a whole lot more films, but please tell everybody how they can actually watch Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway, because I think it's available online now, right?
Yes. So in the United States, Arrow Films is the distributor. So Arrow Films, you can access to Arrow Films website, but also I think Apple TV has an Arrow Films channel. So you can watch in Apple TV channel. You can watch, I think, YouTube also have a space for Arrow Films, and iTunes, I guess. So you can. There is an easy way that I discovered very recently in Letterboxd. If you put your country, the country that you want to watch, you go to Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway, and I want to watch this film from the United States. It displays all the video on demand possibilities that you have. So I don't remember all the video on demand possibilities that you have, but go to Letterboxd and find them there. And also we are releasing a Blu-ray in September that you can also pre-order at Arrow Films the same way.
Nice.
So for the United States, that's it. We are gonna also distribute the film in other countries. Germany, Austria, Poland, and we did it in Spain, in Estonia as well. So yeah, it's going well.
Good. And it just started becoming, available. So I think it's going to grow to a lot more platforms. It definitely has a really great cult following. And, films like that blow up. They start out as that little film. And I think I love the fact that it's very organic in terms of the word of mouth that it helps to spread as well.
And I feel very, very good for that. We really had a good reception. We are having more than 60 festivals. So I'm already satisfied,
Yes.
I mean, I would like to recoup a little bit more money in terms of money.
Of course.
And also have more feedback, but I am already satisfied. So the job is done, and I will be glad if you watch it, and all the people that is listening, and you send me your comments and or your complaints. but I'm satisfied. I'm happy. Yeah.
Awesome. And like I said, a film like this is timeless. I don't think, because it's a period piece, in the science fiction, you can watch this for the next 10 years. I think that it's literally only going to grow because of the fact that you can watch this 5 years from now and think that it was just made. So I think it's going to be relevant for a long time. So good job with that. And thank you so much for taking out the time to come on the MCSFO podcast show. I appreciate it. And definitely, as we will definitely do, you'll keep up, because we've been, keeping up with each other for the last 5 years. So I'm pretty sure I'll be able to have you back on again to talk about your next film.
Thank you so much. Yes, definitely. We are going to see each other soon.
Yes, for sure. And stay safe. And until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.